Well, and let's see. What I want to do is take a moment to invite with me. We have Mike Krahulik, who is the founder of Child's Play, the founder of Penny Arcade, and we invited him to join us to do just. I often tell the history of the start of Child's Play, but this gets it straight from the founder's mouth. I think, Mike, that if you jump in and start talking, you'll show up on people's screens because we're on Spotlight here.
Hello.
It worked.
It did. Excellent.
So, yeah, welcome everyone. This is anybody who has benefited from Child's Play, which is all of you people generally who are here. This is one of the people you have to thank for it. And so with those accolades, yeah, Jim Dark Magic also.
I go by many names. I'll answer to all of them.
But Mike, if you want to jump in and give sort of I did my established 2003 shirt, so you can throw back 21 years and kind of give the Child's Play start from your perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. Late 90s, early 2000s was a very different time. My best friend Jerry and I had just started Penny Arcade back in 1998, which was a comic strip all about video games and our passion for games. And around that time, there was, it was not cool to be a gamer. I think now it is. My kids, tell me that it is. They're not bullied for it. But back then it was different. We were smelly kids who lived in basements and played games. And there was definitely a negativity around being a gamer. And Jerry and I wanted to do something to kind of show that gamers were not bad people and that we actually were decent human beings. And we decided, well, let's see if we can get gamers to donate some toys that we could take over to a hospital. The Seattle Children's Hospital was our local one at the time. And just to show you how long ago this was, I literally just posted my home address on the internet. My real house. I lived in a little townhouse. Half of it was mine. I had one car garage. And I said, please, send me some toys. I'll collect them, throw them in my car, and take them over to the Children's Hospital. And I think it was the next day, the mailman showed up, and he had his little mail truck. And he knocked on my door, which was already weird. And he was the angriest mailman I've ever seen in my entire life. This man was furious at me. His truck was packed full of boxes just of toys for Child's Play. And I felt bad. I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry you had to, load up your whole truck. And then he explained that it was just the first truck that was coming to my house that day. And they kept coming all day. I learned that the post office has many sorts of vehicles. Postmen were driving over in their own cars that they had filled up with packages. And pretty soon, my entire little one-car garage, literally floor to ceiling, back to front, was stacked with Amazon boxes. It was eye-opening, overwhelming. And Jerry came over, and our families, most days we would spend 6 to 8 hours we called it shucking boxes. We had to open the Amazon box, take the toy out, stack the toy, break down the Amazon box, and put that in my apartment complex's recycle bin, which they did not like either. But yeah, those were a rough couple of days. The UPS guy didn't like me. Mailman didn't like me. And even when you told them it was for charity, they didn't care. I had made their life miserable. As far as they could tell. I thought that would help. I'd be like, hey, it's for the kids, but they didn't care. So we would shuck the boxes, stack them up. We were getting a lot of Game Cubes, just to show you what time period this was. A lot of Game Cubes, a lot of Game Boy SPs were huge. And we kind of realized that gamers were wanting to give games to these kids. And we thought, wow, that's a fantastic idea. It's something to do, something to take your mind off of what's going on. And we were just blown away. So eventually, a local game studio, I think they were in Bellevue or maybe Kirkland at the time, they donated some warehouse space for us that we desperately needed. Because by this time, my garage was full, my dining room was full. Most of the bottom of my house was just Amazon boxes. There was very little room for Kara and I to live anymore. And we were spending all day, every day, shucking boxes. So we got a caravan of cars, took everything over to this warehouse, stacked it all up there. And when it came time to finally deliver it to the Seattle Children's Hospital, we were fortunate enough to get an entire semi-truck trailer, and the truck. I mean, just the trailer would not have done us much good. But the truck and the trailer, they donated it. And so we had some volunteers come down, and we filled an entire truck, semi-truck trailer with toys. It was incredible. And we drove it up to the Seattle Children's Hospital, and they were blown away. They had no idea where to put a semi-truck's worth of games and toys. They didn't have space for it. So they started talking amongst themselves. And the only place that we could put all this stuff was a drained swimming pool. They had an indoor, I guess, therapy swimming pool. Yeah, that they had that had been drained. And it was very bizarre. We had like a team of volunteers going into the hospital, taking toy after toy, and filling this swimming pool with games and stuff. And by the end of it, it looked insane. It looked ridiculous. It was a swimming pool full of toys. But
Max just said, Max is the game tech at Seattle, and he just said it's still drained, but they've got some plans for it now. So
21 years later, they're working. Okay, good. Drained. I mean, I'm not like a doctor or anything. I say fill it with water.
Yeah, I mean,
I just draw. But yeah, so we filled it. They were blown away, and we realized that we could not do that again. That I could not just post my home address on the internet, and I don't recommend that these days anyway. But what we did do is start the Amazon wish list system, and that carried us along for a long time. Basically, each hospital had a wish list that they generated and said, these are the things that we need. And Penny Arcade readers could come in and purchase items off an individual hospital's wish list. They usually would pick the one closest to them, but not always. And then things weren't coming to my house anymore, and it made it operable, I would say. The initial year was not sustainable in any way, but that's how it started. And obviously, 21 years later, it's come a long way.
Yeah, it's grown quite a bit. So that was for those who don't know, through Child's Play is how I met Mike. A friend of his was the speech language pathologist at the school I was teaching at, and did this thing that said, hey, look at this cool stuff my friends did. So one of those game cubes filling up your garage came from Courtney and I at some point in time.
Nice.
That was there. And after the fact, we met, pretty much right after the delivery. We were like, wow, that's crazy. Who knew?
So Travis, I do have a couple pictures from that first year.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. I can try to share my screen. They're ridiculous.
You can do a screen share. Yeah, they. You should have the button present now down at the bottom. I think we'll give you
artifacts. So you tell me if that's a picture of my old garage.
Yep, we can see the garage and all the boxes.
So you can see the mail guys would just deliver this stuff literally all day. There would be trucks showing up every hour or so. And this was, I think after the first or second day, it was already completely full of stuff. And I have the door into my little house was way in the back there. And so we would open that door, take a couple boxes out, close it, shuck those. The box. And then this one, I thought we were doing a pretty good job with our stacking. You can see we got a lot of Lego there. Ton of game cubes stacked up.
A couple Xboxes in there.
Couple Xboxes, some PlayStations, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. But
those are the only two pictures I think that I still have that have survived these 21 years. But man, it was a crazy, crazy time.
Yeah, and so Child's Play for a long time did a lot of the wish list management. There was a lot of it just kind of managed by the Penny Arcade team. So officially as having a charity staff or anything like that, there really wasn't anyone. So it's amazing what you guys just kept going for quite a few years. It wasn't until you guys brought Jamie on board for a couple of years to kind of have a dedicated person to manage it. And that was when Child's Play started getting some more monetary donations and connected donations with game companies, and really started to cement our place in the gaming industry. And it was 2016 when I got to come on to Child's Play. So for those who don't know previously, those of you in the audience that haven't heard me ramble all the time, I came from teaching middle school and kind of got asked by the PA team that I was friends with to come, hey, try this out. And I went, what do I know? I could teach you some algebra. Like, what good would that do? But thought that I'd be able to maybe bring some of this experience back into my classroom. But it was really a good time to join Child's Play, because it's really where Child's Play has switched. And this is sort of, I don't know, I don't want to say culmination, because I think that we're still growing, but this symposium is a big part of how that switch is coming into play. And that's really when Child's Play went from just giving stuff out, because it was very good at getting things out and having Penny Arcade and Child's Play fans donate games and toys to the hospitals through the wish list. But what we really started to see was that the limiting factor was not access to technology, but really the understanding on how to use technology. And so a lot of you have probably flipped through our therapeutic video game guide at one time or another. You can find it online at gametherapy.org. So one of them will put it in the chat. One of those game therapies, I think it's gametherapy.org, is the online piece just to start teaching child life how to use games intentionally as part of the healing process. You almost got me there with .biz, Chris. For a second, I was like, oh, someone jumped in. I was like, that's Chris, not my team. Never mind. But the game guide was the first step, and we happened to be doing some hospital visits and met Carla at Colorado and also met JJ over at CS Mott, and we're together with the two of them at one point in time when Carla said, how do I get a JJ? I need a person to do my gaming. I can't do it. Angie put it in gametherapy.org. It's in chat there. Thanks, Angie. But how do I get a JJ? And we went, I don't know. Child's Play's got some money. What if you wrote a grant? And at this point now, we're looking at 48, I think, is our number of game techs that have been funded by Child's Play. But we've also seen this game tech role take off and start to see hospitals finding alternative ways to fund it, knowing that if it's just going to be down to Child's Play, it's going to take way too long. We can't do everyone all at once, so we can only do a handful a year. And it would be way too long. So the Duncan Joy Foundation is some places where people have found funding. Internally, hospitals have just decided we want to do this and have this role, so we're going to put this person in position. And to continue that education process, we started the symposium with Children's Colorado. We've actually now, Garrett, when he joined our team, helped put the finishing touches on a training course for game techs that is to help teach how to do this role that has no education process to it, because it's never been done before. So there's not a degree, there's not a career path that is fully laid out yet. So we're working to make sure that we have those tools available. Homework is due today, Brittany says, for the people in class. Yes, it is. So get your homework done after this. But we've started that process, and now I think Child's Play is in such an exciting place to be. We still have that support of the Child Life team that we were built off of with the original toy drive that you guys did. We do our annual gift every year, so that's one of the sort of three legs of the stool that Child's Play has for support. With the monetary donation, its focus is to get games and technology, help maintain gaming that goes on in the hospital, because you can imagine how many controllers need to be replaced every year just alone, right? And those are funds that need to come from somewhere.
Well, yeah, we learned so much. I mean, it was such a big learning experience. Even initially, the original idea was like, there's so many gamers out there who have old collections of games. What if we could just send hospitals our old stuff? Hospitals don't want your old stuff.
They don't want your old stuff. They can't use it.
It turns out, yeah. So that was like the first big learning experience. But then the idea that we're sending all these Game Cubes and we're sending all these Xboxes and stuff to hospitals, and to us that stuff is easy to hook up, but there's got to be somebody on the other end who knows what to do with it. And that was just the first idea was, well, there should be someone who can hook it up, right? Someone who knows how to set these up and how to play these games. And we even had people reaching out to us, readers and people who were donating to Child's Play saying, can I go in? Can I play with the kids? Can I set up the Xboxes and stuff like that? And so we realized this is someone that needs to be there. And then to go from there to the idea of like, how is it actually helping like the kids? Is it actually making their lives better? Let's try to quantify that. It's something I never even could have imagined, at the beginning when it was just a toy drive.
And we've seen some great presentations these last 2 days on how it has been impacting. And that, sort of is that's that second pillar of support that we want to have, is that education support of how to use the games, how are people using the games, what's showing the impact. Dr. Gold talked about their grant they got from Child's Play this year, where their game tech is really, really involved in the use of VR and the research around VR to figure out how to get insurance companies to come pay for it. Because what we all know in here, if there's not dollar signs behind it, sometimes it's hard to get things going inside the hospital. But so we're excited to be a part of that research. And then that third leg of support that we have is our grant program that does the capacity building grants for the game tech positions. And then we have our equipment grants later in the year where hospitals can come to us for those bigger asks where their annual gift might not be able to get them. I expect that the game techs who came to PAX West and spent some time in our family game lounge, thank you all again for helping volunteer run that lounge with us, but we'll be really looking to get a hold of something like the Draw Live system that we had going in the room there. That would definitely be an equipment grant piece. That's a more expensive than the annual gift, but those three pillars that Child's Play is based on is an amazing growth trajectory. When you look at where it started, and it started with just a garage full and a bunch of moving trucks full of
angry post office people,
some gamers who wanted to stick it to the man who was saying games are bad. Oh yeah, well look what games did.
Like all good things, it began with spite.
Yep, it is my favorite founding of a charity story when I start talking to other people who work in this nonprofit space now, and they go, tell me more about your charity. I go, well, it started solely out of spite, just because. And they're like, well, what do you mean? Not with a good, heartwarming cause? No, they just wanted to make a newspaper have to say a good thing.
Gamers did a good thing, yeah. And for a long time, it really was, just a toy drive. And that was honestly more than it was bigger than I'd ever imagined, even on that first day, obviously. But I'll never forget the very first time I heard that there was a test being done about, I think it was dialysis at the time. And it turns out that I guess kids don't like to come in for this procedure. And if there was an Xbox there, they were more likely to come in. I was like, that is fascinating. It never even occurred to me that it can take your mind off of it. And I thought, well, it'll be fun for the kids to have something to do. But the idea that it can literally improve their chances and help them get better is beyond anything I ever could have imagined.
Yeah, not what I think you or the Penny Arcade fans or anyone expected when this began. But here we are 21 years later. We have nearly 200 partner hospitals all across the world. Child's Play has been able to fund game techs. Again, in nearly 50 hospitals. We have one in Kenya, we have in Australia, we have them around the world. So it's spreading and taking off. And again, it was sort of a stunt that you and Jerry threw together. But looking at where it is now with all of the people here.
Yes, I feel incredibly underqualified to be here.
Yeah, when they invited us and the planning committee said, would you and Mike do a little talk? I was like, I mean, yeah, but we're following like research doctors and we're like, what do we know? We're just here. We can
not
talk
much, Travis. Not much.
But yeah, and we've seen a couple people pop off. Feel free in chat if you have questions for Mike and I. Well, Carla, we're grateful to you,
yes,
and everything you guys do. Again, this is where we always feel like we're just conduits for the good. And when
I am
people
humbled by your work.
very much. Otherwise, as I'm scanning, I don't see questions popping up. Now everyone was chatty a second ago. I see Chris's face pop up though.
Thanks for being spiteful.
Oh.
That's what I'm good at. Yeah. How did you pick the name Child's Play? So we were driving the car, Jerry and I. Jerry is my partner in Penny Arcade. If you don't know him, he's, we write it together, but he's really the writer. And in 1998, when we started Penny Arcade, I think I had drawn 2 comics already, and I showed them to my roommate Jerry at the time, and he's like, I'd like to get in on that. And I was like, well, what should we call it? And he just looked at me and goes, Penny Arcade. And that's how it happened. And so when Child's Play, we were just driving in the car one day, and I was like, we got this idea to do the toy drive. What should we call it? And literally in a couple seconds, Jerry just said Child's Play. That's what he's good at. He named PAX the same way. We were hanging out in a Costco doing some shopping. I was like, I want to do this convention. What should we call it? And he's just like, Penny Arcade Expo. People can shorten it to PAX. Like,
planned ahead of time.
He's good at it.
Yeah. I did see a question that was, what was like an impactful story. I think one of the pieces that really took off, and this is talking to this crowd of game techs in particular.
Thank you, Anthony.
It was Colorado when they had their game tech, and we heard sort of the first story of them using VR during lumbar punctures. And this was relatively early into having their game tech. So this wasn't like, years down the road, but kind of, we got a person and now we can try this thing, and being able to use VR for a lumbar puncture to deliver medicine where a child didn't need to be sedated. And so instead they could be immersed in VR, be playing this game, and get this procedure that went from being such a long piece, right? If you think about sedation, you've got to make sure that they haven't eaten. Oh man, that's the fireplace actually turning on. I hope that this turns it off. Don't fan on me. This is way too hot. This is a stunt for you all. Here's yet another stunt. But being able to, not have to worry about scheduling it first thing in the morning, making sure that they've fasted, worrying about the child coming out from sedation, but just, we put them in VR, we did this lumbar puncture, we delivered the medicine, and they were out in 20 minutes. Was one of the first times we looked at them. This position is beyond, like, we thought they'd be hooking up Xboxes, right? Xboxes, right. The Nintendo, like getting the PlayStation working. That's what we thought when we first started funding these roles. And then we start hearing stories about how they are, I don't want to use the word assisting because all of the medical people will get mad at me, but as a layman, I'm going to say assisting during procedures with getting VR or games or those electronic distractions, and just improving just being the Nintendo lady, improving the outcome for the kids that they were working with.
Speaking of the Nintendo lady, just really quick, my very first job was the Nintendo boy at Toys R Us during holiday season. I had to wear a little Virtual Boy cap that lit up, and I had to stand by the Nintendo console and talk to everybody about Nintendo. So I know how good it feels to be that person.
Virtual Boy.
Virtual Boy, yeah. It was a good job while it lasted. I had a little vest too and everything. It was incredible. And I saw the Sacred Heart mention. Yeah, Jerry and I grew up in Spokane. So it's great to know that our hometown children's hospital over there is benefiting as well. Both of us were up on the north side. Got my car broken into many times over there. I actually left my Matchbox 20 CD in the car. I don't know if you ever had your car broken into and they leave stuff. It's not a good feeling.
Feels a little insulting.
Yeah, it's like you went through the whole CD thing and just took, I don't want this one.
He needs this.
They already had it. That's the problem. It was just a duplicate for them.
That's what I tell myself, but I don't think so.
That's all.
I think they were judging me.
Yeah. There's a lot of comments, and I just want to throw out a couple of questions that were further up in the chat. Abe here had asked, knowing where you are now from where you started, do you have any big dreams for the future for Child's Play for this work? Obviously, the education training certification is a huge step. Even beyond that, if you can comment or care to.
I'll let you handle that, Travis. I mean, like I said, it grew beyond my wildest dreams on day one.
Already?
I literally thought I would put some toys in my trunk and drive to the hospital. So everything that happens now is just icing on the cake.
I am very excited for the certificate program that we have, and the path that we see for this game tech role going forward. I am just looking forward to seeing it take off. We tell them all the time when we talk to them that we can't be their child life association, and that someday that I think what it will be is just Child's Play will be a footnote in how this position got started, and it is a grander, bigger role that is taken off and necessary in every hospital, as necessary as child life, as the art therapist and the music therapist, as the therapy dogs. Like your gaming therapist is just part of that as well. And again, it's all thanks to Carla. Whenever you cross paths with Carla and or JJ, just thank Carla for saying, how do I get a JJ? Because that's really where we started doing this was, well, I don't know, here's a person. And all of you guys in the game techs in this space have grown this beyond what we thought. We really did think this would be the person to just update Xboxes and connect controllers and those kinds of jobs, but you have moved into these positions and taken amazing ownership of your roles and just really stepped in to say, I can do this, and it is going to make the lives of these kids so much better. It's been an honor watching it happen, and just to know that we get to watch that continue to grow and see what you guys are doing. I'm very excited for it.
I was just going to say that, success for Jerry and I have always been when people no longer know who we are. People coming to PAX and don't know Mike and Jerry just means that PAX has outgrown us to the point where, we couldn't be more proud of it. And Child's Play is the same way, like Travis said, the idea that someday it'll just be a part of hospitals and people don't even have to think about it anymore. That's the end goal for me. Absolutely.
That's awesome, guys. There's one more in there that I'm interested to hear you talk about, which is both from that original toy drive or maybe the subsequent years. What's the craziest thing that, other than just basically all of Toys R Us being donated to you guys, what's the craziest thing that was donated to the toy drive? And then you guys do obviously an incredible event in the fall. You have your auction dinner. What's the craziest thing you guys have seen either purchased or bought there? Love to hear some of those stories.
Oh man, there's been so many amazing things. We had a full-size Boba Fett.
A life-size Boba Fett statue cast from the movie, so everything was there. Yeah, your helmet,
perfect,
everything.
Yeah,
makes me sad I didn't win him. I bid on him for a little while until my wife said, "Knock it off."
That's why I always wonder when somebody wins something like that. It's like, where are they going to put that? Where does that go in your house? I guess by the front door, probably.
Yeah, just collects your mail. I guess. Hold this for me.
I don't know. Nothing super crazy came in the early years because it really was all coming off of Amazon, so they were pretty limited. We had to stop people from sending us their actual gaming collections. We had to explain that hospitals don't want their old stuff.
When I came in 2016, there was still probably 12,000 copies of Just Dance 2014. Because there was a point where game companies were like, we'll send you last year's game. Here's all of them that we printed because we have this year's game now. And we either sent them all off to you or slowly got rid of them. But there were still hundreds and hundreds of copies from 2014 when I joined in 2016.
Well, there was also a period of time where hospitals were telling us there are certain things that they go through a lot. I guess like batteries, they just needed tons of batteries. And so we had just boxes and boxes of batteries showing up. And the other one was Play-Doh. They said that anytime a kid played with Play-Doh, they had to get new Play-Doh.
They kept it,
so buckets and buckets of Play-Doh filling up my house. What is my favorite thing I've ever drawn? I don't know. I mean, I did propose to my wife in Child's Play, or not, I'm sorry, in Penny Arcade. Child's Play Brain. I did ask her to marry me. I remember I brought her over to our little apartment in Spokane. She didn't read the comic at the time. We'd only done a few, honestly. It wasn't that far into it. And I was like, you should read today's comic, honey. I think you'll like it. And she's like, no, I'm okay.
Thanks,
like, no, you should read this one. So that was probably the best one. And anytime, when we started Penny Arcade in 2003, I was still a year away from being a dad. Now I've got two boys. And anytime I draw the boys in the comic, or we do comic strips about them growing up, I got one now in second year in college, going to DigiPen to make games, which is amazing. I feel so proud. And the other one is 14, just started high school. And the comic really is a diary. It's been there from the time they were born. So I still like going back and looking at those old comics and reading those old news posts. I saw a favorite game in there. That changes so much. I play everything, and I'm playing all the time. Right now, my boys actually got me into Rainbow Six. So Kara and I play Rainbow Six with them and Jerry basically every night. That's our 5-stack. And they carry us. Both boys just carry the season.
They're doing the work for you.
Yeah.